that whole situation with navigating your finances with while you're in a relationship or pursuing relationships. And I think we're gonna need to focus on one thing. Like we're focusing on meaningful relationships. If you're just out, just chasing tail, like that's you can budget for that. And I advise you budgeting for that. And really, how much money you're putting towards that. Like, are you going out like when I was in my 20s, I was going out shit 4 or 5 times a week sometimes. And like I was broke as hell in my 20s. I was in grad school, college and grad school for most of my 20s. So I didn't really have like a real job. Um, and so like I knew that that was like expensive to keep going out, buying drinks, buying appetizers, buying food all the time just to talk to girls. So I would take a flex. Like that was my like budget friendly way of cutting my expenses. And that way, you can go out 4 or 5 times a week, 4 or 5 times a week, and not be spending money. Because if you aren't, because if you are like buying drinks at like the bar, or, like the places you go to, that's $15 a drink. Like shit adds up. Like two drinks, $30 times five, that's $150. Times four for a whole month. You're looking at now you're looking at a whole car note for just going out to the bar to get a drink or the club, whatever. So that was just personal, how I navigated that era in my life. But we're looking at more towards like the more significant, the more meaningful relationships, like stages of relationships. So I'm speaking towards today. I'm speaking more towards the partnership type relationships. But today we're focusing on navigating the engagement ring, the engagement process. Starting off with a ring. Now, this is to me, this is like the biggest part. This is like the highlight of it all. Let's go over some things you've heard before. I remember a common thing was a ring should be 3 months of your salary. And take that for what I don't know where that came from. I'm sure it's something that's like from the 50s or 60s or something like that. Because it's like in today's world, what's the average salary? 50,000 a year. 50,000 divided by 12 is $4,000 and $4,166 a month. I can guarantee if you make $50,000 a year, you are not buying a $12,000 ring. Like that doesn't even begin to make any sense. Like that's a fifth of like your total salary. Um, and even if you consider, well, you're doing the full pay, you're doing the gross, like what about the net? Just take home pay. Uh, let's times that by 1.7. 7.5 is probably the safest one. That's $3,000 a month, even if you take off 25%. So you're still at $9,000. I guarantee you at $50,000 a year, you don't need to be buying a $9,000 ring. All right. So, and then when you do some research, you'll see things that say the average cost is like 5,000 to 7,000. I don't know. Like I have to look at the data for that, but I feel like even that's a little high. And let me tell you why. A lot of times we talk about like there's like a running joke that like as millennials, we weren't born too early to what was it? Born too early to afford a house and born too late to be rich off TikTok videos or whatever. But there's some good news in that. You are born in the perfect time to buy a wedding ring or to buy an engagement ring. This is a 5-year chart of the price of diamonds. And you can see in like the early 2020s, you had like the hyperinflation from the pandemic and everything, pushed it up to like $160. I think that's per what is it? Well, you had to push it up to like 160 on index. Now it's all the way down to like that might be 85. And so you had almost a 50% drop in the value of diamonds. And what's happened is lab grown diamonds are just flooding the market right now. And so it's just pushing, and then like one of the big things is that consumers don't care if the diamonds are lab grown or if they're like dug up from the ground. They're just not caring. So the value that mined diamonds used to have, they just don't carry it anymore because it's like, well, shit, I can get a lab grown diamond that's the exact same thing as your mined diamonds without paying an arm and leg for it. So going back to like some of these common sayings, like of 9,000, like you 3 months salaries, $5,000 to $7,000 a month, $5,000 to $7,000. I'm just gonna say you can find nice rings without going that high. Like I was, me and my fiance went to Zales to get her ring resized and like cleaned and all the warranty stuff. I didn't see a ring in the entire store worth more than $7,000. Like Indian, like I looked at all, well, granted that I could see, but like I saw one of like the bigger ones, one of the bigger nice ones, and it wasn't $7,000. I think it was $7,000. So it was like, if that's one of the biggest, the nicest ones, you can tell like how they present it in the jewelry case and the jewelry box that like this ring is like the focal point. They want people looking at that ring, but it wasn't even $7,000. And so it's like the price aspect of it, I think it's just kind of outdated and I feel like you can just kind of throw it out the window. Here's my rule of for ring shopping. Well, I have two. I'll go with both. One is where you find them. I need to find like the version of the Bible because when I looked it up, it doesn't say a man's. It just says where your treasure is, so is your heart, something like that. But I heard it, like I heard my pastor say this. So it's like he said, where you find a man's treasure, you find his heart. And so for me, it's like, if this is the woman I love, I want it to look like it. I want it to be an investment in her that shows that's where my heart actually is. That's my thought about it. That's why I'm like, I'm not one of those people to like encourage people to just buy the cheapest ring you can get, or just give her, she should be happy to get any engagement. Like I'm not one of those type of people. I am about balance, but I feel like it should be something that you're proud of. At the end of the day. And then a little story time. So back in I was in grad school. This might have been like 2015, 2014, maybe. But me and some friends, we were at this old spot called Gin Mill. Gin Mill was it was a spot in Dallas. It was like in Lower Greenville. I think it's by like across the street from where Beauty Bar is now, or like Barcadia. It used to be in that area. But there was a spot called Gin Mill, and it was my favorite spot like that's ever been in Dallas. Like Dallas nightlife. It was just like laid back. They played good music, and it was always like just very attractive women there. like there, it was never a miss. You never went in there. It was like, dang, there's a whole lot of dudes in here. Like that was never the case. So one time, it was kind of like uh, kind of winding down. The night's kind of winding down. I'm talking to this girl, and I'm like, yo, like it's a great conversation, nice vibe, all that. Like, just, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, we finna go back to the apartment, like, boom, 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 do the thing. Then she's like, I gotta tell you something. It's been really nice talking to you, but I'm married. And I'm like, yo, the vibe that you've been given did not mean married. Like, I didn't sense relationship at all. And so I was like, stop lying. She's like, no, I'm for real. And I'm like, yo, if you married, show me a ring. And then like she showed me a finger, and it was like one. It to me like it looked like a promise ring. It didn't look like no wedding rings. And then there was only one ring. So I'm like, well, if you married, you got an engagement ring. So how you only got one ring? But I ain't getting into all that. But end of it is that like for me, I don't want somebody looking at my fiance's ring and being like, oh no, he's not serious. Like, nah, that's a joke. Like, that's not a real relationship. That's not a real ring, so it's not a real relationship. So just the asshole in me just says that it's got to be something that I like. Those are just my little rules. So all that to say, when I was actually buying her ring, I looked shop around, like, well, just like when I tell people about cars, it's like, gotta go look around, see what the market is offering. Same thing with any significant purchase, really. Shop around. And then with when you're looking at, when you're looking at jewelry in general, it's like, what's the difference between a clearance jewelry and a full price jewelry? It's like, it's still metal and diamonds. And so it's like, if you want to maximize your bang for your buck, you can find a discount or a clearance jewelry store. Like, and I'm not saying it's like those little rinky dink kiosk in the mall. Like, I'm not talking about those. Like, Zales has like clearance stores. Like the big diamond guys that have clearance stores. Funny fact, I was just like, I was out trying to buy some stuff. I was supposed to buy some shoes from New Balance. Sidebar. I was trying to buy some Cooper Flag New Balance shoes in the New Balance store in Dallas. Now, this store is in like University Park, which is like a really rich, nice part of Dallas. Um, I go in there and he's like, "Oh, we've been sold out of those for months." I'm like, "Bro, how do you have the likely rookie of the year playing in the city? You're in your store located in the one of the richest parts of the city, and you're not even selling his shoe like that." I was like, that was befuddling to me. I'm like, that just mean to me that means that, like, yo, you've got a store manager who doesn't understand like sport, who doesn't understand like how sports moves merchandise. Because if I'm the manager, I'm like, yo, we need Cooper Flag shoes in every color, in every size, all the time. Like, like, what are you doing? And then like, there's only one New Balance store. Like, I think in Dallas, it might be two, but it's like, even if it's just two, it's like you're one of two. You can run your numbers up just by keeping that shoe in stock. Um, but that's just a sidebar. I don't understand what, maybe New Balance, like their strategy of getting athletes hasn't like trickled down throughout the entire company yet. I don't know how we got there, but so yeah, discount stores at oh, that's what I was saying. When I was there, and I saw like when he did say he didn't have any other shoes, I was like, well, shit, I'm up here. So I just started walking around. I walked to Diamond Direct, and that place was like, you have to like talk to a lady to get into the store. Like, you had to talk to like, it's like they had to clear you to get through another store, and then there's security. I'm like, yo, this is I don't know, like this is like a Fort Knox type setup. Like, this is more security. I'm just here to look at rings, like to look at wedding rings, because I have no idea what ours are gonna look like. I'm just trying to get an idea, but so yeah, just very very strange. And then the a few I did look at, like one of them was like $11,000 for like the men's wedding band. I'm like, that's the highest ring I've seen like in a while. Like, I haven't seen a ring for $11,000. I don't know if they're just like keeping their prices high or what, but I'm just like, yo, um, yeah, that's yeah, you can get more bang for your buck somewhere else. All right, so so that's rule number one. That's the first part. Second thing, find something that you like and that she'll like. Now, me and my fiance never talked about rings before. But I know I got good taste just in general. So I was like, I can trust like, that taste. And like, I know the standard I'm looking for. I'm like, I want a nice ring. Actually, when I was buying it, like, I was about to walk out the store, but then like it caught my eye, like it's just like peripheral vision, like my eye flew to it, and I was like, oh shit, nah, that's it. And it's kind of weird, like when you're looking at rings, it's like they're all shiny, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, all right, these are all just shiny, but it's like, which one do you really just draw? Like, are you really just like captivated to? I think like that's what you got to find, to me in my mind. Um, Now, if y'all have talked about it, if she's mentioned, she wants a specific this or that, or you know, follow that too. That goes into account, but it's not necessary. Number three, don't get overwhelmed by information. I think there might be like 30 different cuts of diamonds. You don't need to know all this shit. And like, don't let a salesperson, because they're gonna know it because they work and live in diamonds. You don't. It's like you're buying one, like this is your first ring, or you're buying a ring. Like this is like one, maybe two times that happens in your life. Don't let all that shit, like I would say none of that shit matters. Like just for the average person, I'm sure there's gonna be some jewelry expert or whatever, or who comes in and says, oh no, this cut, this clarity, yada yada yada. None of that shit matters. Like to the average person, to the person that doesn't work and live in diamonds and jewelry, that shit don't matter. So don't get overwhelmed by it. Just find something you like. All the information, let that shit go in one ear and out the other. Um, Number four, look for zero interest. If you're gonna finance it, make sure you don't pay any interest on it. um, some of them have like promotions like 18 months, 24 months, 12, whatever. If that's what you do, make sure you sign up for it and like you don't pay any interest. Like set your payments for auto pay or whatever. Do what you got to do, but avoid paying interest on the ring. And then for the last thing, when it comes to like how much you should pay, if you're doing an interest payment, if you're doing like breaking up in payments, a good barometer is your car note. Like, and I don't mean like if you got $1,000 a month car note, because you probably shouldn't. Like, you probably need to get out that car and be doing something different. But is it like, is it a car note, or is it your car insurance? Think of things like that to save, if as a guide to what the price should be around. And so yeah, I don't think it needs to be. I think two rules is like, one, get something that you can comfortably afford. I think there's a when you if you go online, especially on social media, there's going to be all types of just people just talking out their heads like, oh, a ring needs to be $10,000, $15,000. Like, there's always going to be people on the internet telling you to spend absorbent amounts of money that make zero sense. And the thing is, they're telling you to spend the money, they're not spending it. So I don't listen to them. You know, I remember I dated a girl. She was like, she said her ring, she wanted, she thought a ring should be around $15,000. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, well, and then like, as we talked, there's like, well, because like she had gotten gifts. She had gotten like, a dude gave her a Rolex that was like 15 G's. And I'm like, oh, that's why you're fucked up in the head. Because like you've had like these men who come and gone that gave you great gifts, but it's like, like in reality, it's like that's not normal. There's nothing I can tell a stranger to say, hey, there's how much you should spend on your proposal, on your wedding, on your engagement ring. Because I don't know your finances, but you don't want it to be something that you're struggling to pay off. You don't want to be something that you're paying years on, and that you end up paying, more money than like the original price of it. So just keep that in mind. And if you're going through this, you need somebody to talk it out with, set up a call. We can do that. Just so you have an idea and get a roadmap to, uh, to get something that you're comfortable with. And I pulled up this, and it's just to show that like when you look for engagement rings, like you're gonna find a lot of shit. Like you can scroll endlessly on rings, like it's just endless. Like yeah. So like I wouldn't shop online. I would just go in person, um, because they're to me, it's kind of like buying a car. Like you can't really tell online what a car is like. You got to get in and test drive it. I think a ring is the same way. And then you have the proposal. Now, once again, current trends are to be elaborate. I think there was a video of a guy who proposed, and he gave the fiance to be like 12 cars or something like that, and she still said no. And I don't know if I feel like that video is probably fake, but the shit happens. Like uh, if people do pop a question and they don't get the answer they were looking for. It happens. Um, but for me, I would just say ignore the current trends of being like the over the top, like where you got to have sparklers and fireworks everywhere. Like just make a cool, intimate moment with your close friends, family, your close circle. It's about because it's about y'all. It's not about all the extra shit. So just keep that in mind. Um, I'm always gonna say, you don't need to be over the top elaborate with stuff because a lot of that shit is just it's not real. And when you're talking about a relationship, do you want it to be based on like a facade or you want it to be based on something real? So just keep that in mind. You know, Once again, for the fellas out there, if this is a situation you're in, if you need somebody to talk through it with, set up a call. We can go over it and even get you like a budget, like, hey, how much you should spend